We begin this practice with a seated meditation. You can be seated comfortably on your mat or in a chair, or you can rest in a lying down posture. If the eyes will close, let them close. If closing the eyes becomes difficult or a distraction, then allow the eyes to stay open. Really, comfort is key. As the body comes to rest, notice all of the places where your body is in contact with the ground or the chair. You can drop your mind right down into the body like an anchor, down into the depths of the ocean. What do those places where the body rests on the ground or in the chair feel like? And then notice the inhales and the exhales. What does it feel like for inhales and exhales to enter into the body and then to leave? Where do you feel the inhale and exhale most strongly? At the nose? In the chest? In the belly? This meditation at the beginning of practice is useful. It helps us to train the body and the mind together, bringing them together into the present moment, residing in embodied awareness. This yoga practice becomes a practice of moving mindfulness. And while we cultivate mindfulness, we also cultivate a sister practice, one of self-compassion, working to view the self with gentleness, with friendliness. This takes practice. Sometimes in the beginning, we just start to catch ourselves in old patterns of harshness, self-judgment, or criticism. But over time, we begin to not only notice those moments of harshness or criticism, but maybe to replace those thoughts with a gentleness, a softness, and even an acceptance of the self. From this place of resting comfortably in the body and the mind in this moment, we can form an intention or dedication for our practice today. We hold that intention in our heart and mind, breathing support around that intention. And then we will transition into the moving part of our practice with an Om. And now the eyes can flutter open and we move into a pose called Constructive Rest. Resting on our backs with the knees bent and the soles of the feet on the mat. Feet are a little bit wider than the hips so that the knees can fall towards each other. Place a hand on the chest and a hand on the belly, and we'll come into a breath practice. This practice is called Seesaw Breath. Working with the breath is an important part of the yoga practice, and there are many different kinds of breath patterns to play with and to study. For Seesaw Breath, we're going to take an inhale and an exhale, using primarily the chest, and then on the next inhale and exhale, we use primarily the belly. So on the chest breath, you'll feel the hand on your chest rising and falling, and on the belly breath, you'll feel your belly hand rising and falling. You might find it difficult to separate the two sections of the body at first, chest breath, belly breath, but over time that becomes easier. So continuing the pattern in your own body, inhaling and exhaling with primarily chest, inhaling and exhaling with primarily belly, and alternating between the two. This particular breath practice looks to free up the breath a little bit if we've gotten stuck in a particular type of breath. Sometimes the breath gets stuck and we rely on one breath pattern all the time. With practice, we can have very fluid breath, very adaptable breath, letting the breath be responsive to the needs of the body and the mind in the moment. Taking one more inhale and exhale into whatever body part you are breathing into at the moment. As that exhale leaves, both hands can come down to your sides or onto your belly, and you can relax your breath. Now making your next inhale very deep and long, and letting the exhale escape out of the mouth like a long sigh. One more time like that, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the open mouth. Coming into a core strengthening pose next, staying in this same basic shape, but the feet move a little closer to each other, so the feet are under the knees, and we're going to come onto the balls of the feet. Hands go onto the belly, fingers spread wide so the pinkies are down near the pubic bone and thumbs are near the lowest ribs. We're going to make some effort to work with these muscles that are under the hands primarily, though other muscles will help. When you exhale, you're going to lift your feet off the floor, raising the knees up to the point at the ceiling. It's a small movement. Hold there and inhale. When your exhale comes, lower the feet down slowly and with control until the balls of the feet rest on the floor again. Inhale and hold. Exhaling repeats the lift. Hold on the inhale and lower again on the exhale. Keep going like this, moving on the exhale, holding on the inhale with slow, controlled breath. Maybe this movement is enough for today, or maybe you would like to bring even more awareness into the core. If so, continue with the exercise, but try to use the muscles of the deep core to keep the pelvic bowl very still, no rocking, as the legs raise and lower, isolating this movement as much as you can. And bringing the feet back down to the mat, rolling over onto hands and knees. This is Tabletop Pose. The hands are underneath the shoulders, the knees are underneath the hips. We're going to come into a short series of postures called Cat and Cow Pose. For cat, we lift the spine up toward the ceiling, letting the head drop down toward the mat. For cow, we let the belly drop down toward the mat and the face lifts up. We tie these movements to our steady, long, and slow breath. Often cat is taught as an exhale pose and cow is taught as an inhale. Try this pattern on for yourself and see which way you would like to breathe as you move from cat pose into cow pose and back again for several rounds of breath. Notice how this feels through the shoulders and the hips. Notice how this feels down the entire length of the spine up into the neck and where the neck meets the skull. Coming back to tabletop, back to stillness. We begin a practice called Extended Cow to work on both strength and balance. Keeping the left hand down on the mat, reaching out and away from you with the right hand, and reaching out and away from you with the left leg. Left toes can be down on the mat or left foot can be lifted entirely. Left leg and right arm are straight, nice and long from right fingers down to left foot. Hold as you continue to breathe long, deep inhales and exhales. On your next exhale, coming back to tabletop shape, take a few rounds of breath to reset mind and body together in this moment. Then keeping right hand down on the mat, reaching out and away with left hand and right leg. Right toes can be down on the mat, or right foot can be lifted. Lifted arm and lifted leg reaching away from each other. Find stability, find your balance, and notice what happens to mind and body as we hold the pose. Can you keep mind and body together? Can you keep awareness of breath? Can you keep breath nice and slow and gentle? And then coming back into tabletop. Take a breath in, and then the exhale takes us back to downward facing dog pose, lifting onto the balls of the feet and lifting the hips up toward the ceiling. It might feel good to pedal out the dog or walk the dog, lifting one heel and bending its knee, keeping the other knee straight or nearly straight, and then lifting the other heel and bending its knee, alternating back and forth. And then we come back to stillness in our downward dog, and we exhale. The inhale has us looking toward our hands, and the next exhale we can leap our feet to our hands or step our feet to our hands, coming into standing forward fold. The feet are about hips width apart. The knees can be bent a little or a lot, looking for ease through the hamstring muscles at the backs of the knees and thighs. The head hangs down toward the floor. We release as much muscle tension in the neck as possible so that the head hangs heavy, and you can let the head shake a little bit side to side or forward and back, or twist the torso side to side. And then coming back to center, we inhale there, and the exhale rolls us all the way up to standing. From this standing shape, we're going to come into a balancing shape called tree pose. Bringing all of your weight into your left foot, lifting the right leg, bending the knee, and placing the right foot somewhere on the inseam of the left leg. It can be very low, so that the ball of the foot is still on the ground, aiding in balance if balance is a challenge today. Or it can be at the side of the calf muscle, or it can be up on the thigh. The hands are at the heart to begin in prayer position. And once you find your balance, the hands can come up toward the ceiling or bloom open. Holding this pose for a few rounds of breath, you'll notice all of the maneuvering your body does to help you hold your balance. Can you hold the pose without holding your breath? And then bringing that leg down and bringing your arms down back to standing position. We bring all of our weight into the right foot, and we come into the pose on this side, and we lifting left foot up and placing it somewhere on the inseam of the right leg. The hands begin at the heart, and then they can bloom up or out, and we hold the pose on this leg. Bringing that leg down, back to standing position. We're going to step the right foot back, coming into Warrior One pose. The feet are hips width apart. Left knee is bent at about a 90-degree angle. Back foot, the toes are angled out a little bit. The hip bones are pointing equally forward and are level in space. The hands can be at the heart or can rise up toward the ceiling. Hold the pose, but do not hold the breath. Can you keep mind and body together as we hold this shape? Bringing hands back to the heart, turning the torso toward the right, coming into Warrior Two shape. Keep that same 90-degree angle in the front knee. Keep that knee open wide, and the arms can open out to the sides. You can play with the palms pointing downward as the pose is traditionally taught, or maybe it feels better today to have the palms pointing upward. Hold the pose and breathe. And then exhaling, we're going to step back to the front of the mat, hands down at the sides, back to our standing posture. We're going to do that short sequence on the other side, stepping back to Warrior One with the left foot back. Bend into the front knee, toes on the back foot angled out a little bit. Hands at the heart or hands reaching up toward the ceiling. Hold the pose without holding your breath. Mind and body here. And then turning the torso towards the left, coming into Warrior Two on this side. Arms open out, palms down or palms up. You can look towards the front hand or towards the side. Let your neck choose what is most comfortable for you today. Can you view whatever arises in the body and mind with gentleness and self-compassion? We continue to practice this. As your exhale comes, step back to the front of the mat. Come down to a seat. Come down onto your back. Hug the knees into your chest. Put a hand on each knee, right palm on right knee and left palm on left knee, and make circles with the knees, first in one direction and then the other. The knees move together in these circles, massaging the low back with ease and gentleness. Coming back to stillness, straighten one knee at a time, bringing the legs down onto the mat. The feet fall away from each other, released and relaxed. Arms rest near the sides, palms facing up, coming into Shavasana shape, resting pose for the end of your practice. Mind and body together in this moment, here at rest.